Hi guys, it's Nick Verreos and welcome back to Fashion School with Nick Verreos. In today's video, I'm focusing on the young fashion entrepreneurs out there who want to start a clothing line and don't have a clue on how to price their garments to sell. So, time to show you guys how to do a cost sheet. First, what is a cost sheet and how do you properly cost a garment? A cost sheet is basically a report or chart that gathers all the costs for a garment. It helps you understand the monetary value of each item and assists you in determining a wholesale price for your clothing. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. Now I'm using this dress right here from my Nicolike line as an example. Ain't she pretty? It was one of my first dress styles I ever sold to a major department store. So it's got a special place in my heart. Now, how much should I charge for this dress if I was selling a bunch, not just one? $20? No. $50? No. $200? Perhaps. But really, I just can't come up with some number and be all, yep, girl, that's how much I want to sell that dress for. There's a process you have to go through to get the price and what it really costs me to make it. And that, my dear students, is called a cost sheet. There are four main components to a cost sheet: fabric, trims, that means zippers, buttons, labels, etc. Labor, that's number 3, sewing, pattern, and cutting. And finally, shipping. You add all these up and then multiply by a special secret amount that I'm going to tell you later to get the cost of your garment. So let's start with the fabric. Now the main fabric for this dress right here is silk twill. I buy it wholesale and therefore it's cheaper than if you bought it from a retail fabric store such as Mood or Joann's. Now this fabric cost me $12 a yard. Now this dress right here takes 2 yards. So little mathematics, $12 times 2 equals 24. Now, this dress also is fully lined, so I need to add the lining, all right? Now, the cost of lining. My lining is Habitai silk, and it cost me $6 a yard. It's cheaper than the main fabric. And I need 2 yards, just like the main fabric, which comes out to $6 times 2, $12 for lining. Next up, interfacing. Now, what is interfacing? That is the inner fabric that makes collars, facings, cuffs stiffer. And I've got a little bit of a collar, facing, and cuffs in this dress. Now, the interfacing is kind of cheaper. It's $2 a yard. And I only used 1/4 of a yard. So the total cost of the interfacing is a whopping 50 cents. So far, my total fabric cost is $36.50 for this dress. Now, time to add the trims. First up, buttons. I don't know if you can tell, but there are like 10 buttons on this dress, all right? And I paid for them in bulk, which means I bought a lot of them, knowing that I was gonna make a lot, many dresses, okay? So I needed a lot of buttons. Now each button cost me about 5 cents, and I used 10 of them. So 5 cents times 10 equals, what do you think? 50 cents. Now, if you're using a zipper instead of buttons, this is the place where you would put that zipper cost in, okay? Next up, labels. That's part of the trims. You need a main label, a size label, as well as content, origin, where it's from, and wash labels. You need to add all of these up. Once again, you probably should order a bunch of these labels, so it's much cheaper. You add a minor cost for all the labels. Now for me, I add 20 cents total for all of them. Next, the hang tag. You gotta charge for that too as part of the dress price. The hang tag is the tag that hangs from your dress. Hello. That's why it's called the hang tag. Now, you also should have these printed in bulk, so it's much cheaper. The cost ends up being also 20 cents per hang tag. Next, the thread. You need thread to sew the dress. One spool of thread can cost about $2, let's just guess, all right? For making one dress, you only need a small amount of that spool. So I would kind of guesstimate and add 20 cents for thread. So the total for trims is $1.10. Now it's time to add up the labor. That means patterns, sewing, cutting, and grading. Let's start with pattern. Making the pattern for this dress right here can take up to 8 hours, if not more. And if I were to charge a pattern maker about $25 an hour to make it, they would bill me $200 for it. But we can't add a $200 cost in our cost sheet, especially if you're making hundreds of this dress from one pattern. So what do? We come up with a much lower general price for the pattern. This price, depending on the amount of difficulty or how many pattern pieces are in the garment, it can range from about $2 to $25 or more, especially if it's a complicated gown. That would be a much higher pattern cost. For this dress, I'm adding $10 pattern cost fee. Grading. Grading involves the process of sizing your garments, like from small to medium to large to XL, or going from a 2 to a 4 to a 6, 8, etc. You get it. This can be done by hand or computer, and you add a small general fee, similar to what you did for the pattern, as a grading cost. Mine is $5. Next up, cutting. It's cutting the dress. Cutting a dress like this can take several hours, but it can be done quicker and cheaper if you are cutting many of them all at once. Once again, here you add a small general fee to take care of your overall cutting costs. I add $5, just like in grading. You gotta put all these costs down. All right, here we go. Sewing. Okay, figuring this one out can be a little tricky. This fee depends a lot on where your garments are being sewn and how many. It's more expensive to manufacture dresses like this in the US and cheaper in Asia or Eastern Europe. In addition, a manufacturer, that's a place that sews the clothing, will also charge you a lot more if you just want 5 dresses made, as opposed to 1,005. If I were to just make one dress, this one right here, in the US, I would pay a sewer about $15 an hour, and it would probably take them 6 or more hours to make, which means I would have to add $90 to $100 just for the sewing cost. But because I'm not just making one, and hopefully I'm assuming a store or stores will order hundreds, girl, hundreds of them, I lower that $100 sewing fee to something, let's just say, a little more cost effective. So I put down just $35 sewing cost instead. Now, if I wanted 1,000 of these made, but in China, India, or Latin America, that sewing cost would be much cheaper. And therefore, in the end, the dress price, the final price, would probably be much cheaper as well. Finally, you need to add a wash cost. Lots of garments or fabric have to be tested for wash, dry cleaning, and you have to add this additional cost in your cost sheet. I add just a little $1.50 in there to take care of that. So let's break down all the labor costs. Are you ready? $10 for pattern, check. $5 for grading, check. $5 for cutting, check. $35 for sewing, check, because it's made in the US. $1.50 for wash. It all equals out to $56.50 for your total labor. Almost done. Time to add the packing materials and shipping costs. You need to add those too. Your hanger, 25 cents. The poly bag, 5 cents. That's the bag that your dress goes into. The shipping box, I add 10 cents for that. And finally, the shipping, I add 25 cents. So the total for shipping and packing is 65 cents. Now, once again, I know you guys may be thinking, that's a little low. The numbers are low because you're taking into account that hopefully you'll be shipping hundreds, if not thousands of these dresses. So now we are ready for the total cost. Here we go. Fabric, $36.50. Trims, that's the buttons, remember? $1.10. Labor, $56.50. Packing and shipping, 65 cents. Get your calculators out. You add all of this up and you get, drum roll, $94.75. Now, you multiply this amount by 2.2. This is my little secret, all right? Why? Because you need to make some money. That's for your profit and a little bit of a wiggle room, kind of a little shaky room. It's a little bit extra for unforeseen costs, because you never know. So when you multiply the 94.75 times 2.2, the total is $208.45. Okay, let's just get rid of the 45 cents and make it $208. It's a little easier. And voila! That is the wholesale cost of this pretty dress. Now, guess what happens next? The stores buy your dress for that $208 price, but then they add anywhere from 70 to 100% markup. Why, you may be thinking? Because the stores need to make some money, especially after sales and markdowns. So let's do the math. $208 times 100% equals $416. And that, my friends, is what your dress will sell at a store. Now, go sell some clothing and price them so you can make some money, honey. Thanks for tuning in to Fashion School with Nick Verreos. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And heck, while you're at it, go ahead and watch all my other videos as well. And like them too.